everybody, and welcome back to Classic Gamer 74. I am your host, Anthony Gamer, and in today, our coming back episode, we are going to be discussing games that were discovered in 2024. Well, it has been a while. I have missed all of you, and I hope everybody is doing really well. It is great to be back, and I am looking forward to a better 2025. I'm feeling great. And I want to thank everybody for the prayers, the kind messages, the get well wishes. It's great to be back. I've missed all of you. I've missed doing this. So without further ado, let's talk about some games that were found this year. Well, 2024 has been a year for finding a lot of lost media. Not just games, but there's been some movies, cartoon series, books, all kinds of cool stuff has been found. Of course, there's some we're still hoping, knock on wood, that will be found soon. Some that I particularly am waiting on, and you can kind of guess what that one is. But there were some pretty cool prototypes that were found, dumped, and made available to the general public. And I'm going to discuss some of those today. So without further ado, let's get into the games. And our first one for today is AU, which, for those of you that don't know, is the scientific symbol on the periodic table for gold. This is a shoot-'em-up arcade game that Taken, later Tecmo, now Koei Tecmo Games, planned to release in 1983. Now, in this game, it's a fixed screen shoot-'em-up where you are just flying around, shooting enemies to capture them, shoot more of them, and destroy bases. It's not too bad. The game seems to be full and complete. Now, it was first shown at the 21st Amusement Machine Show on September 28th, 1983. It was well received. They did do some playtesting, and I don't think it went as well as they'd hoped. So it kind of got forgotten. Now, for many years, it was pretty much forgotten about. Now, it did show up on a couple cabinets that some people had. However, it wasn't until this year that it was actually dumped and made available to play. Now, if you look online, it says that you play it on HB MAME. That's not true. I really tried HB MAME and I couldn't get it to work on there, but we'll talk about HB MAME in another episode. However, it does work on the latest version of MAME. It's not a bad game, but, really not one of the greatest games, but it is from 1983, so. And next up, we have WWE Brawl. Now, this platform fighting game was supposed to be released in 2012 for the Xbox 360, the Wii, and the PlayStation 3, and it was canceled about 6 months after it was supposed to be completed. Work had begun on this game around 2009, and there were a whole lot of setbacks, I guess. I'm not really sure. A lot of the development about this is really unknown. What we do know is that you would take different WWE characters, and you would fight in this place called Brawl City. Now, it was quietly canceled, and it was really unknown why. There was a trailer on the internet that was quite well known, but after that, it pretty much disappeared. Now, lots and lots of concept art, gameplay, screenshots, and even, like I said, the trailer were released. But that was about all we heard. That was until May of 2024, when a playable build for the 3DS, which, as we mentioned, was discovered by a YouTuber named Nichliv and was dumped by Codebound on archive.org. Now, unfortunately, there's not much to this build. You have a limited number of wrestlers, you all have the same moves, and there's only a few areas to fight in. So, yeah, and it's not bad. You can kind of see that it was going to get a lot better. Now, some people have broken into the code and they've seen a lot of stuff that you don't have access to yet. So, yeah, it looks kind of neat. Hopefully, a better build will be found, and hopefully the 360 and the PS3 version will be found later on. But what we have, it looks kind of cool, actually. All right, and next up we have Joe Ball's World. This was an MS-DOS game that came out in 1994 and was seemingly lost. The entire game is in Spanish. It's your typical 90s platformer. This game would have really been a lot better, I think, on the NES or something like that. It's an interesting game. I had a hard time getting it to run. You really got to tweak with DOSBox to get it to go. From what I can tell, you're going around shooting stuff and jumping around, typical 90s platformer. According to rumors, this game isn't even the full version, this is the shareware version. And this was actually found on a Russian DOS gaming site called oldgames.ru. And next up, we have Mini-Putt. Now, this game was actually released a few years before by Accolade and was going to be released in 1990 for the NES by JVC. Now, it was released in Japan on the Famicom, and of course it was actually more well known as being a computer game as it was on the Amiga and the Commodore 64. It's pretty much what you think it is. It's a mini-putt game. Now this has a lot of different options. You can play in rainy weather and snowy weather. You have a multitude of different types of different courses to play on. You put your name in. It takes a little while to get used to the controls. This has the 3-tap method to a point. It's got the 3-tap. So first one is for strength, and the second one is for, and not really aiming, but whether you're slicing or not. So they really set the bar high on the pars, though. I'll warn you, because a lot of them are par 1, and if you hit the ball into a water trap too many times, your player just gets mad and busts his putter and quits. Not a bad game. It's kind of a shame it wasn't released for the NES. I'm not really sure why it wasn't. I guess probably around that time they figured that there were enough golf games, although honestly I don't think you can have enough golf games on any system. But like I said, it was released for the Famicom, but it just was one of those ones that did not get an English translation. You get a chance to give it a try, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, though quite challenging. Alright, and next up we have Spy vs. Spy 2, The Island Caper. Now this was originally released in 1985 and was released for just about every computer known to man, much like the first game. And like the first game, it was going to be released for the NES. However, it was canceled for unknown reasons. There was actually going to be a third one originally for the computers. It was either going to be something about, I read somewhere, Arctic Antics, or it was going to be in outer space, but it was totally canceled and gone. However, this was again supposed to come out way back in 1989, but was canceled for some reason. It was going to be on the Famicom and on the NES as well. Now, this was found by an internet archiver named the Nicktoons Fans 2810, and he uploaded the ROM onto the Internet Archive, so it is there for you to enjoy. And if you like the first game, you're really going to like this one. Okay, and next up we have SpongeBob SquarePants and the Nicktoons Grab Jet Racing. This was supposed to come out for Xbox Live Arcade in 2009, also to be released for the Xbox 360 and for PC. Now, as many of you that are into Lost Media know that there is just so much SpongeBob stuff, and there's been a lot of SpongeBob stuff that has been found in recent years. Now, I have never heard of this, mostly because I don't have an Xbox and will not get one until a certain game, playable building game, gets found. So, in this game, you were to take on the role of SpongeBob and some of the other characters from the Nicktoon universe, and of course, it's quite similar to Mario Kart and F-Zero. Unfortunately, all you have here is the beta stage, and that's about it. You can't There's only 2 characters available. It gives you the option to unlock, but when you click on it, nothing happens. Now, this was found by a YouTuber named Alpha Archive on August 21st, 2024, and it was uploaded to archive.org for you to try. Now, people have asked, about the different types of emulators that I've used. Now, this one works pretty good on Xenia, which is about the best Xbox 360 emulator out there you're going to find. It's a pretty cool game. Like I said, if you like Mario Kart and stuff like that, you're probably going to enjoy it. As far as I know, there's only 1 track, but it's kind of cool once you get the hang of the controls and all that stuff. If you're watching it right now, you're seeing I'm not doing so hot, mostly because I need a new controller on my computer, but it's still kind of neat to see. You can kind of tell that it's not quite finished because character voices haven't been added or anything like that. But, you can get a pretty good idea. I mean, you can play it, and you're going to have fun doing it. It's not a bad game. It's actually kind of cool, and it's kind of a shame it wasn't finished and released, because it really is a lot of fun, what we have so far. Alright, and next up we have Divided City. Now, this was an action vehicle combat driving game that was developed by Pseudo Interactive in 2007. Now, they had intended it to be for the Xbox 360. It's pretty much, you drive around and blow up stuff. You got missions. Now, as far as I can tell, the version I have, and believe me, there are quite a few different prototypes available on hiddenpalace.org. The one that I got, it actually does work. It's called a debug prototype from May 26, 2007. Some of the other ones just show stuff and they don't really do a whole lot, but the game is really badass. You just drive around and blow up stuff, and it's a lot of fun. As far as I can tell, you have unlimited lives, at least in this prototype, and it's a lot of fun. I could not stop playing when I was recording game footage for it. It's really a lot of fun. Killer music, lots of explosions, really awesome. It's just too bad it could not find a publisher. Unfortunately, Pseudo Interactive themselves went under in April 2008, so the game itself was never released. It was actually found by a gentleman who found an entire hub of a big collection of unreleased Xbox 360 games. So this would not be the only game in that batch. We got one more to talk about after this, but to get a chance to try this, I highly recommend it. Now, I couldn't get this to work on Xenia, so I had to use another version called Xenia Canary, and it worked just fine. Just hook your controller up and have at it. You're gonna enjoy it. And our final game for today is Carmageddon Crude Awakening. This was also developed by Pseudo Interactive and was planned to be released by Eidos for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Now, there are several playable builds of this on Hidden Palace. You can check them out. Some of them have just previews, some have screenshots and other stuff. What you're looking at here is one of the ones I could get to play, and as you can see, a lot of work still needed to be done on this. Now, if you're not familiar with the Carmageddon series, you're basically racing and running over people. It's really a whole lot of fun. I discussed it, the original game, on my band games episode that you can find on Patreon. But as you can see, you kind of get an idea of what's going on here, even though there's a lot of work obviously left to be done. I'm going to switch and show you another area that's on the playable build. Okay, there we go. Now, as you can see, I switched to a different vehicle, and I'm driving around in what looks like it would have been a mall area. You can still run over the people, and there's a song playing in the background, but really there's not a whole lot else you can do. It's just kind of driving around. In one playable build, you can shoot. In this one, you can't. So, yeah, you just got to kind of mess around with the different builds and try them out and see what you can find. It's really a shame this wasn't released, as I really enjoyed the early Carmageddon games. Hopefully someday a fully complete playable build will be found, but for now, this is all we have. Playing that Carmageddon game made me think about one of my favorite games for the PS2, and probably one of my favorite games, period. And that will be the subject of our next episode, that being Test Drive Eve of Destruction for the PS2, an instant classic. Well, that brings this episode of Classic Gamer 74 to a close. I really hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed presenting it to you. If you did like it, let me know by giving me a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when I upload any new material. Check out my second channel, Anthony and Red's Top 10, where we discuss games and music and anything else we feel like talking about. Connect with me on all my social media platforms, and please check out my Patreon page where you'll find some episodes you won't find anywhere else, including my episode about band games. Well, until next time, this has been Anthony Gamer. Thanks again for all the support, the prayers, the positive messages. It's great to be back. And I will see you next week in the next episode. Until then, have yourselves a great new year. Bye for now.